Hi, Eric Gibaud, ericgibaud.com. I abandoned photography. Let's start. Well, you got here. First of all, this is a sentence. I want to give up on photography or abandon photography. That I hear very often, and many people have heard it in their head, in their mind, thinking, I'm going to stop doing photography. And this is not my case, but I wanted you to come to here because many people say that sometimes, because I read this on social networks, I hear that people say, I'm going to stop doing photography. And I wanted to analyze what's going in their mind and what solution there may be. So there are two kinds of photographer, professional photographer and amateur. If we speak about professional photographer, it's just a business, as any business. And for many, it just does not make sense anymore to be a photographer. They don't make enough money and they decide to abandon. So as it's just a business, I'm not going to get into that because, well, it's maybe logical for them or for anyone to analyze a business and see doesn't make money. But I'm going to speak about amateur people because when I hear this, I want to abandon photography, I want to stop doing photography. It just surprises me because I think, how can an amateur say that? What are the reasons? So I've listed 10 reasons. They are not in specific order, which is most important or least important. I just put 10 points and I'll tell you what people say and or think, and probably what solution there is if you feel like this one of these reasons to abandon photography. Point number one is that they get bored. It's boring for them. Why? Because very often they always make the same kind of pictures. They always go and make the same landscape, or they always do macro photography, always do flowers or model photography or whatever, but they do just one style. And it comes to time that they've checked all the solutions, all the possibilities. They think they've done it. There are always new things to create, but they think they've done everything they could. And they get fed up, and what's the point to get this camera to make another landscape? I've made like 100,000 landscapes. What's the point? What's the point to make a picture of a girl? I've made like 10,000 shooting, and why another one? Well, no problem. Change thematic. Go to something else. Do something else. If you were doing macro photography, why don't you start doing landscape? And if you were doing landscape, go and do a portrait or whatever. Try other things. If photography is your passion, then there's no problem. You will find passion in another style, another discipline of photography. So don't worry about that. Don't just try something different, completely different, and you will see you won't be bored anymore. Reason number two is frustration. People they create an expectation of what they could make, the kind of picture they could make, and then when they don't get to this level, they get frustrated and they feel it's better to abandon because they're no good. And then you realize that most of these people, they don't compare their picture to their own picture a year or 2 years or 3 years back. They compare to someone else's picture. And they get frustrated because they say, oh, this picture is incredible, but I don't achieve to get a picture that good. So I'm no good. So it's better to give up. And really, you realize that they ignore completely why this picture they're looking at are so good and theirs are not as good. And most of the time is due to lack of knowledge, obviously, but sometimes lack of technology. And you see some landscape, they're incredible, colors are vibrant and really warm or cold or whatever, but then you realize that the original picture was as good as your picture. Simply this guy has done some good, incredible post-processing. And sometimes this color in this landscape simply do not exist. You see this special sunshine or whatever, and it's there, it does not exist. He worked on it. He added things or he modified things, he edited, and then you realize that your pictures are brilliant, they're good, they're just basically pure, they're not worked. So you have two choices, or then you realize your pictures are as good as his, just a different style, different work on them, or you can learn how to do the same thing and then you work on it. But don't get frustrated because you don't are not able to get to the level of the other person without learning first how it gets that far with this picture. And very often people, they start thinking, yeah, because my gear is not good enough, my camera is not good enough, my lenses are not good enough, so this is why I don't get these results. And this is not true. You can get incredible picture with any camera. So then you get to point 3 is, I don't have enough money to sustain my hobby as a photographer. So why? Because you feel you need a gear that you cannot afford, so then you give up. And on this point 3, no, don't give up because you don't have money to get the best gear. You can make brilliant picture with absolutely any camera, I'm not saying you can make any picture with any camera. You can make brilliant picture with any camera. Simply, you must know your gear, know its limit, and know what you can do with this gear. If you have a compact camera and you are intending to make picture of a bird that is half a kilometer away, obviously your basic compact camera will not be able to get a first close-up of this bird. So if you're expecting this, well, yes, you have a problem, but be realistic. Do what you can with your gear and enjoy what you can do with this gear. If you cannot afford a gear to do different thing, don't do this thing. If you don't have money to have a lens to have a close-up of the moon, there are many other pictures you can make without being in the moon, you know, and enjoy it. If you really love photography, like some people say, when people say I love photography, for me it's exaggerating. You may enjoy photography, but love is for person, not for photography. No, for me, in my opinion, and I am a photographer, but I don't love photography. I like making picture, I like taking picture, I like building picture, I like seeing photography, but I don't love photography. I love people. So if you really like photography, you will enjoy with any gear. So just adapt yourself to what you can afford. Number 4 is people, they have a lack of recognition and their ego is down. Why? Because this is typical with the social network era. Before, when you have a photography club with maybe like 10 or 15 or 50 members, you saw just this person and that's it. But now with social networks, you have 100,000 or million of photographers that publish on the internet or in Facebook groups, and then you want to publish too, and then you see that other people, they get many more likes on the pictures than you get, and then you get frustrated because you feel, wow, my picture I thought was good, and people are putting a lot of like on his picture, on mine no, so I'm no good, and they get frustrated. First, the pictures, you make it for yourself, not for no one else. If it's a business, obviously you make it for your client, but we speak about amateur. Pictures for yourself. If you like your picture, it does not matter if other people don't like it, okay? Something else is that you publish it asking for advice, and then people say, this should be different, they say, I don't like this for this, that isn't that. But if you publish just this on your Facebook, for example, people don't put like, it doesn't matter. Second, you must analyze why other pictures are getting so many likes. Very often it's not just because of the picture, or maybe it has nothing to do with the picture. It has to do with the content of the picture. We all know that a girl with little clothes get more likes on these pictures than a landscape. Why? Because people don't see the picture, they see the girl. Or you make a picture of the Eiffel Tower or the Empire State Building, and many people put like, not because the picture is good, simply because it reminds them when they went to see this monument or this place or this building, and then you create for them something special and they put a like. It doesn't mean the picture is good. As a picture, as a kicker to open their mind, yes, or to wake up their mind, yes, but as a photography, it's not necessarily good. So I'm not saying that because you don't get like, your picture is still good. I haven't seen your picture is maybe simply bad, okay? But it's not because your pictures are not getting more likes than other that it means your pictures are bad, okay? That you have to analyze a lot more than this. Point number 5, lack of time. People say, I give up photography because I don't have time to make photography. And no, this is not true. There is always time to make photography. Maybe there is no time to make the kind of picture you wanted to make or you were making. If you're making landscape and you have to walk like 30 minutes or 3 hours or 10 hours to get to the place to make one picture, maybe you don't have time anymore to make pictures of that kind because you don't have time to walk so many hours to get to the place to make the picture. But if you really like photography, there are many pictures you can make with no time. The other day I was driving around with my daughter, Pino, and then I saw a landscape and I stopped my van and drove the window, got my iPhone, made the landscape I wanted. Yeah, fine-tuning metal, all this. Okay, made the picture I wanted. It took me 3 minutes. Although my daughter is like papa, vamos. She wanted to go, okay? But really, it doesn't take time to make pictures. What it takes time is maybe the kind of picture you are making. But if you really feel like you want to make pictures, you will always find a second, half a second, a minute to make picture. Maybe you're preparing dinner and you make a picture of the food, or you're going to eat and make a picture of the plate, whatever. If you really like photography, there is no problem. You will find time for some kind of photography. So it doesn't mean to give up. It means to adapt yourself to the time you have. There are some time in my life I didn't make any pictures. I stopped. Why? I had no time, or sometimes no money to develop a film because it was analog at that time, and it doesn't matter. I never said I abandoned photography. I simply didn't make pictures at the time, and that's it. Point number 6, and probably this is the most important point and the most reasonable reason for the most justified reason for abandoning photography, is a physical problem. Whether you're losing sight, you don't see anymore as good, or your muscle are not strong enough anymore. Well, I know some blind people who make pictures, fantastic pictures, and also know, but not that many, but I also know a guy, he had only 5% of sight, and with this 5% he made wonderful pictures. Simply he adapted himself. He was using a really big loop, obviously with a mirrorless camera, so he could look on the live view, on the mirrorless, always live view, but look on the screen, LCD screen and frame and all this, and he was making pictures that were incredible. So really you can adapt yourself in some kind. If you're losing sight, it's possible. And if it's physical strength, there are some solution also. If you have a neck problem and you can hold a camera, you can find a lighter camera, even a compact camera, and still enjoy making pictures, or maybe other kind of pictures, but still enjoy making pictures with a gear that is lighter, doesn't weigh as much. And there are situations that are extreme. For example, you had a car crash and you're in a wheelchair, and you feel that it's really complicated to go out and make picture. Although people in a wheelchair, they go out if they want, with no problem, okay, with difficulties, or they have to adapt the situation, but they can still make picture if they want. But if your situation is a bit more complicated to go out, or people to drive because you don't drive, if you're not driving or whatever, and well, people may make other kind of picture, macro photography, indoor photography, whatever. So if I see some people doing marathon, wheeling marathon in a wheelchair, I don't think there's some reason not to make pictures, but just because you have a physical problem. There are some solutions always. Don't get yourself down. Come on, there are some solutions always. Point number 7. Many people, when they get a camera, especially young people, they start shooting like mad, and after a while they feel like, oh, I could be a professional photographer, I could dedicate myself to that. And I'm going to leave you a video here, a link to a video that I spoke about. Watch this video before, if you want to become a professional photographer, watch this video first, okay? So these people, they're just like getting crazy about photography. They want to make picture of everything, every time, all the time. They go with the camera everywhere, and then one day they feel like, oh, I could be a professional photographer. But they don't realize everything that is needed to be professional. They don't realize that a professional doesn't spend much time making picture, but more time selling picture, or doing marketing, or editing. And it doesn't make, it's not what they expected. and sometimes simply it's not the money they were expecting, so they decide to abandon everything. But for me, these people are not photographers. These people are business people. I played the trumpet during 7 years when I was a kid, and one day I got angry with my teacher, and I put the trumpet in his box and stopped. And 6 months later, I played again once for the wedding of my cousin and never played ever since. But I was not a musician. I was a person playing the trumpet. Actually, it was good because I was published in a local newspaper. My mother still has a cut of the article of that several times. And but I didn't feel I was a musician. So for me, it was no problem to stop playing the trumpet. Well, no point, no problem. Just one day I stopped, and that's it. And these people, many of these people, they decide, if I cannot be a professional, I stop. Well, they're not photographers. Because if they were photographers, they would say, being a professional photographer does not make economical sense for me, or I prefer to enjoy making more pictures and less time selling, and I prefer to be work in something else, and be a photographer as a hobby. But if he stops everything just because he cannot be a professional, obviously he was not a photographer. The same way I was not a musician. Although for me, music is the art that moves me more. For me, this is more than photography, more than anything. Music is everything for me, okay? But I'm not a musician, okay? So I think these people are simply not photographers. Point number 8, well, you broke your camera, or you lost your camera got stolen, and then you feel that as you cannot afford to replace it, that's finished for you. Photography is over, okay? And that's not the way it is. I mean, I had a medium format digital camera, a Mamiya FD2 with a digital back, ZD back, and it got stolen, and I could not afford to have another one, and it was not my main camera anyway, but I carried with the other camera I had, and no problem. So if you're a professional, maybe it's no problem because you needed this gear to work. But as an amateur, it doesn't matter. Just get another camera or use your smartphone, but you can still enjoy doing photography. If you really are passionate with photography, you can make photography with any camera. It's not because it's lost or broken. You can do with something else, and just in the meanwhile, until you can buy a new camera again or another camera, second-hand, whatever, use what you can afford at that time and use it, and that's it. And it's not because you lose your camera that you're going to give up, okay? You get with a simpler camera, a cheaper camera, whatever, and that's it, or your smartphone, and that's it, no problem. Point number 9 is more something about psychology than about photography. There are some people that just like to be victims, and they go on social networks and say, I abandon photography, and they want people to beg them not to abandon. And these people, they just use photography as an excuse or for the ego, whatever, and some people will get offended by this, but it doesn't matter. And I make a small parenthesis. If you're a professional and you say, I abandon photography as a professional, and people say, oh no, please don't abandon, and someone tells you that, the answer is simple. Did you buy photos from me? No. Did you contract my services? No. So just shut up. I am the only person who knows what it means to me if I earn enough money, if I don't earn enough money. So if you don't contract me, don't tell me not to abandon, okay? If you contract me, yes, you're a client, and maybe you're surprised and want to encourage me to carry on. But if you never contracted me, you don't have nothing no opinion to give to me, okay? So that sounds a bit rude the way I say it, but the way I feel, okay? So if you're an amateur and you just doing that for people beg you to carry on with photography, people don't give a damn if you stop or don't stop. I mean, if you are crying like this is stupid. This is ridiculous. Honestly, if you doing that for people begging you, you must go to a psychologist urgently, and it's not a photography problem. This is a psychological problem, honestly. Point number 10 and last point. Simply because you are not a photographer. A photographer is and will be always a photographer, with or without camera. And people don't realize that, but at some time in my life, I did not make pictures because I could not afford film development or buying film or whatever. But I was taking a coffee, having a coffee, or thinking, or waiting somewhere. I was looking around. I was looking at something. I said, "Oh yeah, I would frame the picture like this, and take care of the light here, the shadows there, the highlight there." Even without a camera, I was still a photographer. I was still making pictures in my mind, because when you make a picture, you don't make it with the camera. You make it with your heart, with your eyes, with your mind, with your brain. Okay, so you don't need a camera to make this. You will still be a photographer, although you are not making pictures. It's like if someone would say, a writer, when he has no computer or no typewriter or no pen and paper, he cannot produce anything. And that's not true. Maybe he's having a coffee, he hasn't got anything to write down. He's still thinking of the idea of his next novel. He's already thinking without writing. And this is the same thing if you don't have a camera. You can still do that. So a guy, a photographer, even if he's not making picture, he's still a photographer. So he would not say, I abandon photography. Simply, sometimes he would not make photography, but he would still look and watch and feel as a photographer. So I think these people, when they say I abandon photography and they don't have any of the 9 reasons before I said, simply they're not photographer. They were just making picture and that's it. Okay? So in my case, I do not abandon photography. I don't give up on this. So I hope this video has helped you. If you have sometimes felt like this, I hope it helps you to think about solution, and if you feel it's nothing, photography is not for you anymore, that's it. You stop it. It doesn't matter. Okay. So if you feel this video may help other people, please share it on social networks. If you have not done yet, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. The small button down here, also a small bell. If you click on the bell, you get notified when I upload a new video. My website, ericgibaud.com. If you have any question, you can send me an email to info@ericgibaud.com or leave a comment below. And below, I also put links of my gear on Amazon, also links to other parts of my YouTube channel. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.